Good afternoon, everyone. I am Aguila Asia Ginger M, your Mima of the day. And if you want to know more about me, search my name on Facebook and add me on Instagram. Kimi! So finally, let's start our discussion in having a simple prayer. Everyone, let's close our eyes and bow our heads and feel the presence of God. Lord, thank you for this day. Hope you give each and every one of us a guidance and open mind to understand the lesson that I am going to tackle today. Amen. Before I start my discussion, let me show you my objective. At the end of the 5 minutes of video discussion, the BT-BT2B should be able to first, explain the cognitive perspective and Gestalt psychology. Second, appreciate the cognitive perspective and Gestalt psychology to use in everyday life. Third, answer at least 80% of the questions given from the discussion about cognitive perspective and Gestalt psychology. Perspective state that to understand someone, he must first be able to understand what is happening in their mind. Once you're able to understand them, you will know how they will act in other situation as well. So basically, we need to know the person kung paano sila mag-isip, kung anong ugali meron sila at yung kwento ng buhay nila or mga pinagdadaanan upang mas maintindihan natin sila. Kasi hindi tayo pwede gumawa ng isang judgment sa isang tao na hindi naman natin totally kilala or alam ang buong buhay nila. Maybe sa pangalan alam natin, pero if yun lang yung basehan natin ng information sa kanila, hindi natin sila lubos na maiintindihan. Can be used to better understand learning style, attention, and language acquisition, as well as the way people forget things. When you have a cognitive perspective, we are able to develop a new teaching style since we are future educator. Tayo bilang mga guro, humaharap tayo sa iba't ibang uri ng mga estudyante. So, kailangan natin ng malawak na kaisipan para we can look at the best way to teach different people as well by that. By that, we gain more of their attention when we are teaching to understand our student situation and guide them properly. For this foundation is on the way that information that is heard or learned by the individual is processed by the brain. So, importante na maintindihan natin kung ano ba talaga ang cognitive perspective ng isang tao. Marami mga taong nakakinig or nakaalam ng same information, ngunit hindi nila ito na-process into same way. So, as a result, in order to determine the way in which a specific individual will process information and respond to it, it is important to understand the way in which process information. By considering the way that an individual has gathered information through their life and the way that they process that information, it is possible to understand them better. So, even the same memories from different people will be processed differently. Nasa way of thinking talaga natin itong mga tao kung paano natin ipaprocess ang information na meron tayo. Two individuals who went through the same event will also have different memories of those events. As a result, every individual will have a different method of action through the cognitive perspective. So now, I'll show you some pictures that shows a different interpretation of individual. In the first picture, an individual might see a face of a woman, but the original picture portray a family of birds in a tree. In the second picture, it also shows a face, but it is the bottom of a structure which is the Eiffel Tower. These are examples of cognitive perspective. All about the Gestalt psychology. Gestalt by definition is a physical, biological, or symbolic configuration or pattern of element, so unified as a whole that its properties cannot be identified from a simple summation of a parts. So we do not simply focus on every small component. Instead, our minds tend to perceive object as a part of a greater whole and as elements of more complex system. So, ang Gestalt psychology ay pwede nating makita or ma-apply sa ating sarili. Pwede natin siyang gamitin sa mga pattern and symbols. Ang example ng Gestalt psychology, di ba nung nag-entrance exam tayo dito sa school ay yung test natin is more on pattern symbols and other principles ng Gestalt. So, they use this kind of exam to know the ability of someone on how they think and to trigger their thinking skills. In Gestalt psychology, also we do not simply focus on the detail of the whole. Kasi pag doon lang tayo nakafocus sa isang subject or object, hindi natin lubos na maiintindihan yung sabi nga nila, a person should always look at the bigger picture of a situation. Yung maliit na bagay pala na yun ay pwedeng will show another will. So, in Gestalt psychology, we have Gestalt principles. So, similarity. We tend to group similar items together. So, ito yung pinagsasama-sama natin kung ano yung magkakakulay at magkakashape. Now, we have the second principles, which is continuation. The law of continuity holds that points that are connected by straight or curving lines are seen in a way that follows the smoothest path. So, ito yun naman yung halimbawa, yung line is syempre, yung line lang ay isang guhit, isang straight. So, dun may idudugsong yung another line. Tas if curves naman yon yung line, idudugsong mo siya doon sa curved din na line. The third principle is closure. So, if something is missing in a otherwise complete figure, we will tend to add to it. So, dito naman is hahanapin natin kung ano ba yung kasunod or yung missing na part ng isang pattern. Tapos, ilalagay natin kung ano ba dapat yung tamang kasunod nun. Fourth principle, proximity. The law of proximity suggests that objects near each other tend to be viewed as a group. So, ito na nga yung halimbawa, yung isang object is, kung ano yung katabi niyang object is, mabuview natin siya ng another object pa or whole. Example dito is, halimbawa, hindi, yung circle is ginawa siyang pattern upang makabuo ng isa pang mas bigger picture doon. Halimbawa, gumamit sila ng circles para makabuo ng another picture which is pwedeng dog or anything na mabubuo nila gamit yung mga circles. Now we have the fifth principle, so figure ground. We seem to have an innate tendency to perceive one aspect of an event as the figure or foreground and the other as the ground or backup. So, ito ng figure ground is, diba, halimbawa, sa isang subject, makakita pa tayo ng another subject. Halimbawa, isang subject. Magkakaroon tayo ng example later. So, makikita natin doon kung ano ba talaga yung figure ground. So, ito yung example natin ng closure, proximity, continuation, similarity, and figure and ground. So, ito yun, diba? Makikita nyo naman yung pinagkaiba nila. And yung mga principles na ginamit nila is Now, let me introduce you the founder and co-founder of Gestalt Psychology. So, Max Weithamir, 1880 to 1943, together with Kurt Kafka, 1886 to 1941, and Wolfgang Kaulier, 1887 to 1967, founded the Gestalt Psychology in the early 20th century. Max Weithamir was an Austro-Hungarian psychologist who was one of the three founders of Gestalt psychology. He is known for his book Productive Thinking and for conceiving the pi phenomenon as part of his work in Gestalt psychology. Now, this is the other co-founder of Gestalt psychology. We have Kurt Kufka, March 18 to was a German psychologist. His work and perception showed that we are perceived in terms of whole objects, which are greater than the sum of their parts. And the second co-founder of Gestalt psychology is Wolfgang Kauler. He is a German psychologist and phenomenologist. He discovered that learning can occur when we gain insight into an entire situation. He also discovered that learning can occur when we gain insight into an entire situation as opposed to focus only on an individual part. And that's all for the topic I have discussed. So, sana marami kayong natutunan tungkol sa Gestalt psychology and cognitive perspective at mas lalo pa nating naunawaan kung ano baga ang ibig sabihin nito or malalim na meaning nito bilang sa ating pag-iisip bilang mga guro na magagamit natin ito sa pagtuturo.